Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. We're playing e4 as per flipping usual. This rapid rating is looking heinously high. I'm frankly experiencing vertigo from how high my rapid elo is right now. 2274. I mean, it's dizzying heights that I seem to be reaching right now. As we essay the Mengarini, of course, maybe, just maybe, we'll be lucky enough to see knight to c6. Maybe, just maybe, we'll be lucky enough that the people outside my flat shut up. If not, potentially we'll see a little g6, maybe an e6, maybe a d6, maybe even a knight f6. I mean, you can basically play anything. You can even play a6 here, probably b6 as well. And I'd imagine h6 isn't exactly a blunder. You know, we could literally see one of like 8 different moves here. Although my opponent does seem to have sunk a full minute here into deliberating what their next move is going to be. Which, I mean, I know it's a little hypocritical for me to criticize someone for the amount of time they spend on move like 2, because I'm often just wittering on while recording a YouTube video and burn a full minute. They play e6 though. Okay, we're going to play b4 anyway. That would have been the idea if they'd gone knight c6. We're gambiting the pawn nevertheless, and then playing for c3 and d4. Immediately trying to claim a nice fat center. We've got the open rook, which could potentially bear some fruit a little later. We're going to push past with e5, get this nice pawn chain, and then bishop to d3, sitting on the beautiful diagonal. Why would you... Excuse me? Surely queen h5 check is just a bit of a no-brainer here. g6, I can just sack my bishop, of course, and then after pawn takes, we get to take the rook. Fantastic. So that leaves you with 2 options. Yeah, either move the king out to d7 or f8. Now, f8 might have actually been pretty reasonable. It doesn't look like the king's particularly assailable from f8. And if I take here, knight takes, and you seem fine. King here, I don't know, you're walking over to the queen side, which is precisely where I've just opened up the A and B files with this gambit. It feels as though you're probably not going to find much solace over there. I do, however, want to play this f4 move before doing anything remotely like going after this king. I think once takes, I want to be able to take with this pawn. I don't want to kind of take like this and split this nice little pawn chain up. I mean, keeping this closure here, closure that's perpendicular really to my opponent's light square bishop's natural developing diagonal, probably should bear a little fruit. Now I could take this, because you have to take with the bishop, which isn't exactly unpleasant, but, you know, you can't take with the pawn here, because you just hang the knight, clearly. I guess they're trying to bring the knight into f5, maybe? I guess the incentive to take and take would be to maybe have this square open for a nice little double outposted hole on e5. Given that they can't take with the pawn, this e5 square would, in fact, be a hole that we could place a knight on, and then should they take with the bishop, maybe we take, and that trade seems kind of reasonable. But it also just seems like playing knight f3 would make a whole lot of sense as well. I guess then, you know, knight f5. I could play g4 there. You know what, let's just start with knight f3. I don't see a world in which g6 is ever playable until at least you put your knight here. Now what the hell is that? Okay, I mean, this is a free pawn. A free pawn on h7. Do I want such a free pawn? It would seem like the answer is yes. I mean, why not? I guess actually, what am I talking about? Why not? They could then, it would have an open h file and I'm probably castling kingside. So that might actually just suck. And I just open up potential tactics on my queen. Yeah, okay. Why am I even thinking about taking this? It should be far from my priorities, I believe. Let's just castle kingside. I think this makes sense. We get our king nice and out the center. Their idea is to try and trade the queens off, which, not exactly the biggest fan of this. I think I'm just going to try and keep the queens on the board. I really would rather not trade the queens for no reason. So queen h3 it is, I guess. If I go to queen, or rather, sorry, if I play queen h4, you can just take this with tempo. So queen h3, if you bring the knight in now, I get to take and take with check. Winning the pawn there, can drop the queen back, eventually make progress. They take like this. Now this is interesting. I'm fairly sure I don't want to take with this pawn. I'm fairly sure that either I want to sort of open up the f-file here and the bishop onto this knight maybe, or I want to play knight takes, because why not? Knight takes with check, then they play knight takes here, and then, okay, I don't have this bishop check clearly because they can just go back with the knight, but after knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and then presumably fe5, I'm threatening bishop b5, which would simply win the queen. So then maybe the king has to move, and you've got to kind of stray further over to these open files. I feel like I will go knight e5 here. Now, once you take, there is this debate to maybe just take with the pawn. Try and keep this a little bit sort of closed almost. Maybe go here and here with a bishop. No, I prefer keeping this this pawn structure. I highly doubt that they will... Oh no, they could actually just move their king. I don't know why I doubt that. They very much could move the king. It does just leave me with a double outposted knight on e5 that completely shuts down this position. However, they might like the idea that eventually, I don't know, should they move their king and I take this, they could break with e5 with tempo and maybe get some play going on there. This e6 pawn being blockaded probably means that this bishop is just dead, at least for now. You know, it's kind of like a bad French bishop. Okay, we'll take this way. Again, okay, you can take. I'll probably just take with my bishop, honestly. Why the hell not? Let's just leave the king there on g1. We're not going to give you any sort of queen f8 with tempo there. Take back with the bishop. I'm still threatening bishop b5. a6 does not stop that, which is maybe a little trap my opponent could fall into. But they do just move the queen. Okay. Now, as I've mentioned, it kind of seems like this king's straying over to a potentially attackable part of the board, where I've got some open files and maybe some activity here. They might be trying to retreat back this way and sneak back over to this side, because then if the king ends up on g8, I don't exactly know than what I've got, and I seem to just be down a pawn. So I think I'm starting with bishop b5 anyway, just to prevent them from retreating back this way. Because now we kind of draw this, I don't know, there's at least a wall here temporarily until this bishop moves, which it's not exactly obvious where that bishop can move. That means the king is kind of stuck over here. Now, I'm tempted by ideas of trying to break in the center because the king's there, but I also really like leaving this so that this bishop's just dead. I definitely should address the fact that I've got 3 untouched pieces. Going like this, allowing a trade, and then maybe you just bring the king across, that feels like it sucks. Although I would have check there, actually. Ooh, hold on, this check could be nasty because I hold f6. So if bishop here takes, and then you play like king here, I could go check, and if king f8, check, queen here, that's going to be checkmate. You know what? I do actually like this. I don't know if I should like this, but I think I like this. Maybe you bring the knight to f5 at some point. Maybe that kind of sucks for me. In fact, oh no, knight f5 just seems like a very reasonable move. And it prevents all my nasty shenanigans with queen h4 check. I was hoping that even if they didn't take, I'd be able to go here, or rather, sorry, here. Jesus, I can't draw arrows. Here, oh my lord, here. Then queen h4, but of course, knight f5 means I can't do that. I also don't have g4 because this is pinned to immediately kick the knight at least. So I don't know. It still feels like their king's much weaker than mine. If they play a move like bishop d7, I think I just take king takes and then queen h4 should win me that piece. Queen h4 is not obvious. It's kind of not really so obvious that this would be so dangerous. But maybe they just take, and then I guess bishop d7 at that point. Queen h4 and they just go king c7. But then I guess I could at least go like queen e7 and start creating some problems. I guess queen f7, but then no, because queen d6 surely. And here, and I mean maybe not. Maybe I take, queen takes, check, queen blocks, take on g7, hit the knight, hit this pawn. There's a lot of nonsense going on here. A lot of absolute nonsense going on. My opponent is burning a lot of time though. Don't know if I love my decision to do this, but I feel like it was reasonable. I do think if they play this, I'm going to have to answer some difficult questions about, you know, what exactly I'm doing to stop this knight from being here, because it sucks to allow that to be there. I should have that queen h4 resource, man. God damn it. I mean, it doesn't seem impossible that I could just sort of play knight d2 and maybe break with c4 eventually. And if you take this, I could maybe even after c4 slide all the way over here. That looks interesting. I kind of like knight f5, just c4. Okay, they do take. Hold on. I'll take with the knight, which I presume makes sense. Then they play bishop here. I was calculating this. Queen h4, here, takes, queen f8, and then queen e8 and queen g7, and your knight's hit and this is hit. I think I'm right about this. Right? Now, I guess there is the problem that you could just play this instead of queen c7, which, okay, I don't really consider, but, oh, rather king c7. But we go here. Hold on, this might actually be somehow forced. They have rook here, but queen f7 seems so tempting, damn it. Okay, I mean, I at least have this check. Also, this is kind of looking like it's hanging. I'll check in the analysis whether my thinking was right there, that if the queen had come back, the check, the eventual takes, the going here, the picking up g7, the looseness of the knight, the looseness of the pawn, I think this infiltrating attack seems to be reasonable. I can take, rook takes, knight b5. I could get my knight to flip in d6. Surely. Okay, takes, knight b5. You know what? I don't think that needs calculation. That's a dangerous thing to say. No, it's not. That's such a good move. It has to be, right? Knight b5. I just don't believe that this is not. Like, look at this. If you go this way, your rook hangs. If you come up this way, you've got to imagine that's a poor idea. In fact, yeah, you just get immediately mated, so you have to go to c8, right? But now, at the very least, I get this. But I also have just check, which if I play it first, you've got to come back up here, otherwise you're hanging your rook. So then I feel like just picking... Oh my lord, there's not check here, and mate on flipping. Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's so nice. That is so nice. We go back here, but now there's no pawn in the way. And if you choose to go here, you're getting mated on a8. This isn't a legal move. This isn't a legal move. What? This blunders mate in 1. That is, I guess, more interesting, but still blunders mate in 1. I'm wondering if there's anything sort of more interesting than blundering. Oh, or they're just going to resign. Fair enough. That was nasty as hell. I also saw the whole idea of queen h4, queen c7. I mean, let's analyze that. 2280, by the way. I believe the last video I should have uploaded on YouTube will have been, I think I got to like 2265. So the discrepancy in me getting to 2274 is to be found in the free Patreon video, which if you haven't watched, you can go and watch it on the Patreon, links in the description, or there should be a community post linking to the exact video. But that's just a little present over there on Patreon to maybe get you a little interested. Let's analyze that game. God damn. Okay, so here we are in the analysis with a game that I was never losing whatsoever. I mean, minus 0.8 is not losing at all. Although it was after bishop a3, which, okay, my guess is that knight f5 was their move. We did seem to gain some advantage and kind of fritter it away, but then, of course, king c7 ostensibly was the blunder. I guess they could have gone to c8 and not given me queen e7. Okay, I mean, let's go through this. e4, c5, a3. We go for this Mengerini variation where we sacrifice regardless, in fact. You know, they didn't play knight c6. Generally, that sacrifice would happen if knight c6 happened. But this is still played in the Masters database like 40 odd times. Fabiano Caruana has been a part of a game in which this was played. He did play the black side of it, but Alessandro Bonafede probably absolutely nailed that. Might have butchered the surname there. Ooh, that might have been when they were like kids, right? Well, not kids. 15 years ago. How old's Fabiano Caruana? He's probably like, I'm gonna say like 34. Okay, he's 32. That wasn't a bad guess. Okay, so this was presumably between two Italian players. Obviously before Fabio then became an American player when he was like 17. Okay, whatever. He was 2,700 at 17. God damn. Regardless, we then push past. We go for bishop d3. Queen here, they move the king. F4 wasn't fantastic. I could have maybe gone for either EF6, which I guess just gives them this, so I don't understand why that's a good move. Or just knight F3. I guess the point is that if you take and takes and then takes, I can take with the queen, presumably. Apparently DE5. Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those moves that I wasn't super comfortable with playing DE5 in any context, so I wanted to play this F4 move so that I didn't have to play DE5. DE5 would have been good. Maybe there'd have been ideas to bring a rook to the D file, play C4, try and get at this king, of course. It would have just opened up the queen side where this king seems to have found itself. But, you know, F4 was reasonable. It's kind of just a personal choice to do that. We go for the castles. We drop the queen back to H3. Fantastic. Taking with check. And then this was the mistake. Damn. Yeah, DE5 was just better, apparently. Which I think I mentioned. And maybe playing C4. And, you know, obviously there's this threat, and we could bring the rook, maybe. And actually, I guess this makes sense. There was just something lovely to me about keeping that beautiful pawn chain that we'd fought for. I don't know, we take with the bishop. This is basically equality. And then bishop A3. What was their best move? Knight F5 flashed up there for a second. Okay, so it likes bishop bishop D7. If knight F5, I mean, yeah, they've got a good position. I can play bishop D3, but it kind of neutralizes my ideas. If they'd gone for bishop here, my plan was to take, and if they take, go check. Oh, I'm such an idiot. There's just king E8. Okay, I was used to these two squares being both held, but of course E8 wouldn't have been held. And so here I just end up kind of down a pawn with no attack. Instead, my opponent, you know, thinks for ages and then trades, which was slightly surprising. I go in for the check, and this is then the blunder. We go in to E7, they come across with the rook, and it is mate in 7. I take here, although I suspect, there we go, let the engine think for a brief second to catch up with me. And that was, in fact, the best move. Then we go for the check, we go for the check, we go for the check. And they could have made it slightly more difficult by, I guess, just going back here, hanging the rook, and then getting mated anyway. In fact, hold on, if they'd gone back here, would rook here have been the best move? Oh no, there's literally zero reason to go for that check. I could have just gone queen f8 anyway and picked these two up, but it would have been kind of fun to do that. Instead, of course, they give me the, well, they don't give me the mate, in fact, they resign, but they would have given me queen to c5, checkmate, the king on b6, like, what the hell? The only thing that I really want to check here is that if queen f7, was I correct in my assertions? So the line that I was thinking was queen d6, king here, takes, check, here, and then these two things are hanging. So then I guess knight f5 takes, and I guess I'm just doing very well here, like rook here. Yeah, sweet. Okay, I mean, that would have been a great position. That was probably a reasonably calculated line. Obviously, my opponent could have gone across just to e8, right? Man, king c8 would have also sucked, probably because, yeah, just queen e7 anyway. King e8 was just a huge blind spot for me, like, in all of this calculation. The fact that, I guess, with the bishop on d7, my bishop no longer sees e8, that was kind of foolish. However, still would have been interesting, still would have been ideas. Could have likely just brought the knight directly into d6 and outposted it there, although probably there's a very easy knight f5 to prevent that. So fortunate that my opponent went for this erroneous king c7 there, but then very precisely dealt with and exploited. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. I absolutely enjoyed playing that game. The rapid elo is absolutely chilling at 2280 right now. I mean, this is frankly wonderful. I mean, the vertigo is absolutely crazy. I feel almost nauseous from how high this elo is getting. As I'm coming to the end of my degree, it is boding well. Once I graduate, I intend to take chess pretty seriously and try and get really good. Obviously, I'm already pretty good, you know, for an amateur, but I want to really be contending with, you know, a respectable FIDE rating and perhaps even dabbling in ideas of a couple of years of study and becoming a national master, or I guess a candidate master, or whatever the lowest tier of master there is, just purely so I can say I'm a chess master. I could absolutely, man, I'm excited. But my recent chess seems to be boding well. I mean, if I get to a stable 2300 rapid on lead chess, clearly that's not going to remotely translate to a FIDE rating of anything like that, but hopefully it's a reasonable base to start on. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Go check out that free Patreon video if you didn't see it, and also go check out all the paid Patreon videos. Support the channel. Get your names put at the end of the videos. Thank you so much. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.